I am super excited about today's guest. Jen Hardy is CEO of Hardy House Media, a dynamic content creator, winner of Podcast of the Year, Broadcast of the Year, and best-selling author of 6 books. With a passion for reinvention and a flair for inspiring others to embrace their best lives, she hosts the Fabulous Over 50 podcast, where she empowers listeners to rediscover their potential and live fully at any age. Known for her captivating YouTube channel, The Jen Hardy Show, Jen shares warmth, wit, and wisdom through her Shower Thoughts shorts. She also gives you a behind the scenes look into the lives of those in the justice system through her Voices of Justice series. Jen says that life is short, so live boldly, laugh often, and leave a legacy. I am so excited, Jen, to have you on the podcast today. Welcome to Chat Off the Mat.
Thank you so much. I am so thrilled to be here, and I love your blingy with me and everything. That we're just going to have such a good time together.
Yeah. Well, you've helped me embrace that inner bling, and why not, right? Why not?
Why
feel
not?
fabulous?
Exactly.
Yeah. So I have been inspired by your story, and I would like, if you don't mind, sharing your personal story on things that have happened to you in your life and how it helped inspire you to get to what you're doing today.
Yeah. So, I mean, long story short, we had, the rags to riches story, but it was really a riches to rags story. I grew up with things very nice, and then I ended up living in gang territory as a single mom, and worked my way out of that, and married the man of my dreams, who I'm married to now, Dave. And when we had 7 children, I fell down the stairs a couple of times, and they went in for a scan and found some things wrong. And long story short, in 2018, they gave me a year to live. And I had a 2 and a 4-year-old. Well, no, they were a little older at the time, but I had 2 little kids and 5 older kids. I have 7 born in 4 decades that span 3 generations. And I was not ready to say goodbye to them. And so, I thought I really don't like that idea. But if things are going to happen, I want to have them happy, right? So my 5 older ones, they're out there on their own. They're successful, doing their thing, thank goodness. And with the 2 little ones, we found out that there was an affordable island. Who knew? I always wanted to live on an island. And so we moved them here, and it's like the wonder years. We've got sidewalks. We're 3 blocks from the beach. They do surf school in the summer. Oh my goodness. Every day of summer, I sit there on the beach and think, how can this possibly be my life? And guess what? It's 7 years after that prognosis, and I am still here. And the crazy thing is, when they said that, I was using a walker and a cane, depending on what I did, and I am freely walking at this point, which is absolutely incredible. And so, people say, like, how do you do so many things? Because I've done a lot of things in the last couple of years. But really, people talk about living like it's your last day, right? Living like, and I think I've just embraced that, though. What would you really do? You think it would be take a vacation and spend all your money, and that does sound like fun, except that I didn't want to live in a way that I would break my family.
Yeah.
So, I'm doing all the things, and I tell you what, I think it's just keeping me going. I really do.
Yeah, it's an amazing story. I think when we are struggling or there's something that happens in our lives, especially as moms, we like get up and we dust ourselves off, and then we're like, okay, well, I've got to do what I need to do for my children.
Yeah.
And that's what you did. And so you moved to Florida or to this beautiful island, and then it helped you heal. Were you like intuitively guided to go there? I sense that you had some innate feeling to go there.
So I grew up in LA, and we had a cabin in the mountains, and then we were close to the beach. So, depending on the season, we would do the thing. And I loved the beach. The ocean is my happy place. And we had spent 20 years in Tennessee, and my husband and I went on a on a vacation to Florida for our 10th anniversary. And on the way home, he said, we need to save our money so we can visit next year. And I said, no, we need to save our money so we can live here next year. And 11 months later, we were living here. But a few years before that, I had decorated my room like we were on an island. I got a canopy bed and I got the mosquito netting and I did the curtains and the thing. And I thought, I'm never going to live on an island, right? It's a fantasy thing, but I'm going to pretend, because at that point I was in bed about 20 hours a day. And so I got to be on an island when I was in my room. And I think, you can call it manifesting or like whatever kind of thing you want, but I think it was in my head. And once we found this place, I thought, oh my gosh, we can make it happen. So we did.
I think that you manifested it for sure. And, when we really want something and we feel that with that intention, we send that message out to the universe. And I think that, that helped you. And I sense such a beautiful warrior spirit within you. I'm a breast cancer survivor, but I never use the word survivor. I always use warrior because, we're going out there and we embrace what happened, our struggles, and we're helping others and inspire others to get through them if they can as well. I love your story. Thank you for
Well,
sharing that.
oh, well, and,
Um,
and I think words matter though. You were saying, I think the word survivor, it's that whole survival mindset, right? And so, I mean, there's a lot of people that use that word, but warrior is a whole different thing, right? You are grabbing your weapons and you're going into battle knowing that you're going to conquer it. And I think we've been making a very calculated use of words in my home lately, where we're just very careful about the words we use. And so I think, yeah, that does have something to do with it. And congratulations, by the way, because
Thank
that
you.
C word, when people first hear it, it's
Yeah.
rough.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. Uh, so you have a very successful podcast, but that's not the only thing you do. You started out having a podcast that was more towards chronic health, right, as a mom, but then
Hmm.
you pivoted because you
I
are the
did.
queen of reinvention, and I love that. Can you tell us about your podcast?
Sure.
But
So yeah, it was the Sick Mom's Guide, and then it morphed to Hardy Mom because Hardy's my last name, and it means capable of enduring difficult conditions. And I thought, well, there you go. But I realized when I would walk into a room, I'd say I have, 7 children and multiple chronic illnesses, and that's my podcast. That is depressing as fire, right? We're talking about words. And I felt so sick. And I thought, I have got to stop talking about being sick. I don't want to talk about it anymore. So I was actually at Podfest, which is a convention for podcasters. And I looked around and I thought, who are people not helping? What group is not being represented? And it was women over 50. And right there at that Fabulous Over 50 was born. And I thought, yeah, I'm not giving up. I had 120 episodes by then. I didn't want to give those up. So we just renamed it and kept going because people over 50 sometimes have health issues. So they can go back and find those episodes on cancer or, all the different things. And then we just moved forward. And I cannot even tell you what a difference it has made in my life. It is incredible. And somebody said, well, I don't know why you went from one depressing topic to the other. And I said, aging is not depressing because the alternate, if we're not aging, we're not here anymore. So I think, and part of aging does suck. And it's a lot of fun to throw some glitter and sequins at it, right? And so I think it's helping women see the beauty in being over 50 that maybe they didn't see before too. And that feels so good.
yeah, I think that there's this resurgence or this rebranding of women at a certain age now that we're really embracing life. And my understanding, I teach Qigong, and I talked to my teacher about it, and he said that women after a certain age, although some of their hormones change and we go through menopause, we have this energy to start building and building something new. Whereas men, they already did all their stuff, right? They built their empire. Now they're ready to just go sit in a chair or hang out or follow their women around the store, right? Holding their bags, right?
Exactly.
But we
Yeah,
have so much more to do because we raised our children. We may have encountered some things in our lives, and we're ready to share that and help others become resilient. And I think that,
absolutely.
yeah, I think that's kind of what your podcast does, right? We want to feel good, and that's the messaging.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. And a lot of us were taught to sit down and fold our hands and be quiet while we were little. And I think many of us have realized we don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah.
And we're finding our voice and our, we being more, I feel more secure in my body than I did when it was young and firm and toned and everything, because then I just hated it, because we were taught so many things. You can never be too rich or too thin and, all these different whatever. And now I feel like once you hit 50, it's like, dang it, I'm still here. I'm going to enjoy the crap out of this. Right. And so it's very freeing.
It is very, you're so right. And I also notice a lot of people, there's a lot more women podcasters now, right?
Hmm.
And that's great. And and I've had, most of my guests have been females on the show that have embraced this, like this new identity of helping others. And it's just fabulous to be able to support them and help them connect them with other people. Uh, and you also have another podcast that Voices of Justice, I believe.
I do, yes. So that is my video podcast, and right now my YouTube channel is the Jen Hardy Show, but that is actually it's gonna switch around a little bit, and the whole channel is going to become Voices of Justice because that's what my audience wants, and I have catered to my audience, which is how it has grown by leaps and bounds. And I've got to tell you, that is a lot of fun, and I think that's part of. I don't know. It really, I never wanted to be on video. I put up a video on YouTube and it took off and it's really helped me, I don't know, find myself, I think, in a way, and then be able to help other women be able to be in front of a camera who never thought they would be able to be in front of a camera.
It's kind of fun to be in front of a camera, but you've done, and I have to bring up the shower thoughts, and I really love listening to them. So, so you have this thing that you do called shower thoughts, and if you want to share the story, because I love the way you share it, and we could talk about it.
Sure. Yeah. So I love shower thoughts. I like, I was a philosophy minor in college. And, the idea, why do we drive in a parkway and park on a driveway kind of a thing? But nobody does them in the shower. And I thought, if I'm going to put a video on YouTube, I'd batched out 100 of them. And I stand in the shower with the shower nozzle as a microphone. I hold my iPhone in the other hand. There is nothing fancy. But let me tell you what, it took off on YouTube and got me a partner manager with only 2,300 subscribers. Usually you need 100,000. So it even made YouTube notice, which was pretty incredible.
And why do you think that is? Is it because people are just they're very witty and they're so true?
You
So
know,
yeah,
I think it makes people think they're not alone, right? When you think those weird, quirky things and you're like, is it just me? Am I the only one who notices this thing? But what I've learned by putting them out there is no, it isn't just me. It isn't just you. We're all thinking these weird, quirky thoughts. And I think it just resonates with people. And there's some sort of weird vulnerability. And I'm dressed in the shower. Let me just tell your
yeah,
listeners.
I wanted
That
to
is a
mention that.
question that I get from every man who hears about what I do. I'm conservatively dressed with my blingy robe in the shower. There is no water. It's just I'm just standing there. Yeah, but there's a vulnerability to it. I think too, is that we're usually not filmed in the shower, and so I think I'm letting everyone in, and I think maybe there's an openness to that people like maybe.
Yeah, I think you're right. I do know or follow some other woman who's into holistic healing, and she has a brand and she has products. And a lot of the things she does in her bathroom, she has this huge bathroom, and she'll be in her underwear. She'll do gua sha and she'll do qigong, and it's really taken off. And she's just who she is, and I think that's part of the charm. And with you, I find that it's what you see is what you get. As it's like this is who you are, and you're having fun with it.
Yeah. And I've
I
always
love.
been a real love it or hate it person. People either love me or they hate me. And I've just embraced that. You know what? I've stopped trying to make everyone happy. And more people seem to be happy now that I'm doing that, which is interesting.
I don't have the same shower thoughts as you do, but I do find that when I am in the shower, I have like the best ideas. If I only had a recorder at the time,
Right?
I have to figure out some way to do that, right? And record
I
those
know I need to
those.
market some sort of waterproof paper or something, and it can be the
Yes.
shower thoughts ideas or something. I think that would be brilliant.
I think that is brilliant. Um, so one of the questions I'd like to ask you is, what advice for women do you have who are struggling maybe to reinvent themselves, or they're stuck in a rut or want to find a purpose. Like I'm sure that you've spoken to a lot and have had women on your show who have gone through that. What advice do you have or for them?
So I am a huge fan of the brain dump, which is a strange word, but get a huge piece of paper or several pieces of paper and a pencil. And the thing is, the only rule is you cannot list them in a line. You have to write it all over the paper. You have to give yourself permission to just be free. There's something about it just being chaotic that is actually helpful, because otherwise we think, did I write it properly? Is it no, there's none of that. You set a timer for 10 minutes and write down everything you've ever wanted to do. Maybe you wanted to do art and people told you you're never going to make enough at that. Maybe, you wanted to study history and people said there's no job in that. Like whatever those things are, it could be a fantasy. Maybe you wanted to be a helicopter pilot. It doesn't matter. You're just going to write everything down, all of it, which is also how I tell people to write a book, because I wrote and published a book in 2 weeks. And I was told I was an alien. But you do that. Just write it
Wow.
all down. Maybe you wanted to write a book or star in a movie. It doesn't, whatever. And then you're going to take that list and you're going to put it in order of how you really want. What do I really want? It doesn't matter if it's a fantasy or if it would be hard to do or what anyone else would say. And then you go down that list and you start at the top. And what's the first thing you could actually do within the next week? And you do it. You cross it off. And you go to the next thing. And you slowly build up and do the things you always wanted to do. Because you can. That's the thing. You're a grown up. You're a grown person. It doesn't matter. Everyone told me my shower thoughts were stupid. Everyone thought it was the dumbest idea they ever heard. And I did it anyway. And so I'll say, like on April 4th, 2024, I had 38 subscribers on my channel after 8 years. I
Wow.
mean, that's not a lot. And I had 127 views. And I had done like a lot of videos. Nobody cared. But I did something I was passionate about. That was 10 months ago. I now have almost 70,000 subscribers as of today and almost 3 million views in less
That's
than
a
a year.
that's amazing.
So, right. And I never would have thought, right? But I did the thing I thought was a brilliant idea, even though everyone said it was dumb. I did it. And that's my encouragement. And maybe you won't have 3 million views on something, but maybe you'll just be happy. And for a
Yeah.
lot of women, that is the biggest success you could ever find because they're not finding it.
And I think once again, I think that you did what you wanted to do. You went with your intuition, with your gut, and you said it when you were talking about that mind mapping or that brain dump. Do what you want to do, not what someone else is suggesting or planting in your mind. You embrace that and be empowered.
Well, and this is the time to do the impractical things. You know, I said I was writing a book in 2 weeks and it was going to be a bestseller. And everyone said that is ludicrous. No one's ever done that. And you know what? I did. And it stayed at #1 new release for 30 days. So,
Wow.
I mean, it's incredible what you can do when you really decide that you're just going to do it and forget the rules. That's the thing. I mean, there's certain rules, like we're not going to kill people. Those are rules. We need to, whatever. You may need to edit that word out depending on where you're putting this. But we don't want to hurt people, right?
Right.
But as long as you're not, yeah, we can start bending those rules that we have had in our heads for so long. And yeah, it makes life a lot more fun.
It doesn't. It makes you feel like real free,
It
right?
does.
Because I think women our age, I'm going to say my age, our age, that group, we are so stuck in the rules and being a certain way and maybe not being seen, not being heard, right? And what you're doing in your video shorts and your books, you are sending messages out there that it's okay to have fun. It's okay to be in the shower. It's okay to live a fabulous life and feel good about yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And and I'll tell you, like when I wrote the book, I know there's going to be mistakes. You can't publish a book in 2 weeks without mistakes. And people are like, "Oh my gosh, Jen, you're going to have mistakes." So you know what I did? And not that someone's going to do this exact thing, but it's a workaround, right? I put a sticker on the book and it said editing quest, because when you're a YouTuber, you have to edit. The first 3 people to find 5 mistakes get a t-shirt. So
Mm,
now, instead of people saying, "Oh my gosh, Jen, there's mistakes in your book," they're looking for mistakes on purpose. And I've set them up to edit the rest of my book, you know? And just things like just think outside the box and to get things done. And
Yeah.
it's so incredible and so freeing. And even ChatGPT told me it had never heard anything like that,
That's
but
amazing.
it worked.
Yeah. What can you share what book that was?
So it's uncensored YouTube hacks. So yeah, it's how to start a YouTube channel for people who have no idea. And I was on a podcast with somebody who's been on YouTube for 10 years, and he told me he's read the book through twice because there were things he never learned.
Ah,
And
I'm going to
that
read
was, I
it
think, the
too.
biggest compliment I've ever gotten about anything.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
great. Well, video casting and being on YouTube and videos is definitely trending. It's going to grow, I feel, right? I think
yeah,
that was the message that we're sensing. And it's really, I mean, it's been there for a long time, but I think we need to embrace it as content creators, right?
yeah,
And not be afraid to get out there, and it doesn't always have to be perfect, just to get it out there. I want to grow my channel
yeah.
too, and I'm going to read your book and take that
There
advice
you
that
go.
you have in there.
Well, and what's great is that what's trending now is real authenticity. So people don't want these carefully curated, perfect everything videos anymore. They want to know that it's really you. You know, like this is a mess. What am I doing? I don't know. I got things in my backdrop that aren't absolutely perfect today. And you know, that's okay because people are going to say, yeah, it's some people, someone will complain. They always do. And that's fine because that's
Yeah,
really their own junk, right? Because they
yeah,
need whatever. But everyone
yeah,
else is thankful that they see the reality. They want reality, you
yeah.
know?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's better just to put aside that perfection, because that perfection can stop us, can anchor us, and we can't move forward once we. I'm like that too. I'm like everything has to be perfect, and I'm editing my book right now, and I'm like going over it over and over. I'm like, okay, you know what? At some point, I need to let it go and get it done so that.
Can I tell you? I will tell you and your audience the best way to edit a book. You ready? Read it out loud and make the audiobook because when you read it out loud, you hear differently than when you read it in your head.
Wow. Okay,
And then you've
that's
created
great
an
advice.
audiobook. Boom.
Great advice. Yes, I was thinking about sharing some of that already to my audience to see what their, if it piques an interest, for example. Um, let's circle back to how you support other female podcasters. You have right now, as this podcast is recording, you're doing a top 50, over 50 podcast contest,
Hmm?
right? Do you want to talk about that first so we can
Sure.
get a little glimpse into that?
I am so excited. So I wanted to do it because my podcast won twice last year, podcast of the year, and it's whatever in the top 2% worldwide, whatever. And my YouTube, my YouTube thing and my everything's just kind of taken off. And so I thought, how can I help other people? So if I could get other people on my show and in front of my audience and give them a voice in a new place, that would be good. And I thought, you know, there's these top 30 under 30 business people and top 40 under 40, but nobody's really doing top 50 under 50 or over 50. A few people, you know, whatever. And so that's what we're going to do. And then everyone who wins, they're going to be on my show for the next 50 episodes. It's going to be incredible. But then we were talking and someone said, well, you know, you could do an in-person event. So it's going to be hybrid of virtual, and we're going to have a gala here. Oh my goodness. And so everyone who comes is going to stay at the hotel on my island in my town so I can show them around because I keep talking about it. And it's just, I'm so excited to be able to share it
Yeah.
with everybody.
I can sense it. It's exciting too. I was looking at it, and that is at the end of March, right? So
It
if
is at the
I'm
end of
not sure
March.
when this is going to, I may air this sooner than that, so that we can, or
But if
after
not,
this.
they can come next year because we're going to
Yeah,
do it again.
that's exciting. I was thinking, I saw you at Podfest. I was at Podfest this past year. It was my very first one. I was really excited, and I had so much fun and learned so much. And I saw you, and I didn't get a chance to talk to you because you were so busy talking to everyone. You're like the celebrity at Podfest. But next year I'm going to meet you in person. But I was thinking maybe next year, and I can help you. We can do a maybe a party of top 50 over 50 podcasters or female podcasters or something. We can just have like a meetup or a gathering. That would be kind of fun.
I would love that. Yeah, so I do have a group called the Golden Mike Society, and it is
Right.
for podcasters over 50. But
Yeah.
we could put on a party for them. That would be a blast because,
Yeah.
it's funny. It's not a group of old fuddy-duddies. It is, it's funny when I picture people that were my age now when I was a kid, things were so different then. You know, they were winding down. They were done. We are not winding down. We are doing some epic things, and I think a party would be a, a blast.
I think so too. We'll have to talk about that.
Yeah.
So your golden, I would like to talk about your Golden Mike Society as well, because a lot of my audience too, they're podcasters. I've had a lot of podcasting podcaster guests on my show. So there's a world of fabulous podcasters out there. Can you talk about it?
Yeah, so we meet. We were meeting weekly, and that is way too often. We're too busy. So we're going to meet once a month now, and it's just a nice group of people. We can come in. I love people of every age. It's not that I don't. I mean, I have children in three different generations for crying out loud. But sometimes it's just nice to talk to people who are around our age where because there's a lot of communication differences between the different generations, and it's just nice to be with people who get where you're coming from. You don't have to explain it. You can talk about a broken record. They know what you're talking about, or winding the pencil in the cassette tape, you know. And we can just we give each other this positive, good energy to get back out there and do things. Sometimes we'll have a hot seat where someone comes with an issue and everyone brainstorms, or we'll have a speaker, and we just do some different things to elevate the voices of the people our age.
Yeah. And you create community. I think that's really, really important. Women supporting other women and being and feeling that they're in a community that is supportive. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. We let
so
men into the Golden Mike Society.
uh,
I wasn't sure how I felt about that. It's been good. It's been really good. Yeah, but I think, there definitely needs to be a space. I just went on a retreat just for women, and we do need a space, and so do the men. They do need their own space,
oh
just to
yeah,
kind of talk
absolutely.
man stuff. But it's good to have a softer group sometimes.
Yes, I agree with you, and I hope you had a lovely retreat. I know you mentioned that. Did we talk about the Voices of Justice? Did enough for you? Like I don't know if you wanted to talk about it.
Yeah. So I didn't say what it is. We could talk
Yeah.
about what it is because it's different. Um, so when I started my YouTube channel, it was supposed to be Fabulous Over 50. And I interviewed a woman who I love and watch on YouTube. She's a judge. Did not know she was YouTube famous, which is part of how my channel took off. And I got so many subscribers, and they said, "We are not women, we're not fabulous, and we're not over 50. You need to change it." So I randomly changed it to The Jen Hardy Show and then called the podcast, the video podcast, Voices of Justice, which is now going to become the whole channel. But it's different in that I interview judges, lawyers, legislators, and ex-convicts wearing glitter and sequins. And it's one of those things where people are scrolling and they look and they kind of look again. And now that I've added only ex-convicts that are doing wonderful things, I will say. So not just somebody who's committed a bunch of crimes and I randomly interview them. They're actually people that are helping other prisoners do something with their lives. And those stories are some of the best, honestly, on my channel. Incredible.
So, what made you do that? What made you interview the judges or the ex-convicts that are doing well and just highlight the justice system?
Well, I interviewed the one judge, and then I had a bunch of subscribers. I mean, not that many. For me, it was a lot. It was like 1,500 overnight. And I thought, oh my goodness, I have to do whatever they say. And I'm really glad that I did because it's turned into this incredible thing. And it's given me access to people in the judicial system that I never would have had access to. I've learned things about our judicial system I never knew before. And I think more people in our country, and it's amazing, people all over the world are fascinated with our judicial system
Yeah.
because it's so open and they want the people in the United States to understand how it works. That's why the judges are streaming on YouTube. It's not because they're trying to grow something. None of them are monetized. They're not making money off of it. They just want people to understand how things work because so few people do. And so I've really just taken it and grabbed that bull by the horns and thrown myself. In fact, next month, I'm going to go to Texas and interview some in person and really get the scoop. And hopefully get put in jail. That is my goal. Not because I commit a crime. I want to
Right.
be filmed because yeah, I want to be filmed and have people see what the reality is
Wow.
because it's unpleasant. And I think it would help people not do bad things, maybe. If I can help
Yeah,
one person not do a bad thing, that would be great.
I think that's amazing, and it's giving people the perspective of what it's like because maybe people don't realize what it is really like when they're in a court scene or in a court. And there are so many things on TV, but to see it in reality, it's totally different. And it's almost like true crime, but it is true crime, but it's your, the judicial
Yeah.
system, true crime
Right.
stories, right?
Yeah. So technically I'm under the umbrella of true crime, but what I do is different. And I think, yeah, and I think the jail part, the reason I want to do that is because, people watch court and they think, oh, lock that guy away, lock him up, da da da. But they do not realize what that means. You
Yeah.
know, it's not a TV show where the people just pretend like things are horrible and they get to go home at the end of the day. It is continual.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Um, what is what's your vision for the future of women, not just in podcasting, but just how to live their lives or how to embrace their life and live a fabulous life?
I think, you know, it depends on the woman and whatever she envisions. And I think letting go of what everyone else has told you should do. I mean, within reason. Don't abandon your family. It's not what I'm saying. But, within the confines of, society. But who are you? Learning who you are, letting yourself explore the ideas that you used to have that everyone told you were stupid or that were dumb or wouldn't make you money or who cares at this point, And, I was raised by someone who really wanted women to have the same rights as men, which I can fully agree with, but to the extent that I wasn't allowed to do anything girly, no pink, no purple, no girl anything. And I think that's why I'm embracing the sequins and the glitter. And my mom told me that glitter was the herpes of the craft world. I was not allowed to use glitter. God forbid a piece of it got somewhere because it would never go away. Well, my thing now is neither do wrinkles. So let's cover them in glitter. And then people notice the glitter and not the wrinkles, right? And you see I have pink lamps behind me and all these things. And I'm exploring all those things I didn't get to earlier. And it's like, go after things like you're a kid again, that childlike wonder. And it's exciting and it makes it fun.
I love that.
It's
I
just a
love
whole
that.
different way. And I think, I don't know, you know, I just did my biggest interview on my channel with a judge that had never, he did one 4-minute interview 6 years ago. I got the exclusive. He's a wonderful man. He's righteous and fair, and also an African American man who was the first African American man to be elected in his county in 1999 ever, and then spent 10 years as the only black judge in his county. And I think that crap has to end. And I'm hoping that the women will be the ones to stop. We don't need quotas. We don't need whatever. Stop. Just stop and just start embracing humans as humans. And I think if I had one message, I would want that to be it.
Amen. I agree with you. I love that.
So, yeah.
And I see you making that change and helping make that change.
I hope
Definitely.
so
I know
because
you will.
I
Yeah.
just don't know how it's a thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, when we were in LA, my daughter was one of two blonde children out of 550 people. We weren't allowed to go to people's houses. So when people look at me, they're like, you don't understand racism. Well, I don't understand it in the same way that they experience it. I absolutely don't. But at the same time, we do know what it's like and it feels horrible. And I don't think anyone should go through it. I think we need to be done. So
I agree
yeah,
with
that's
you.
my
I
soapbox. But
yeah.
I'm off it now. But it's really is a passion of mine. It really is.
No, I love this, and I totally support you. I grew up as a child in Newark during the riots, and so I was a young child, and I remember even though I was young, and I don't think we've really come that far in
No.
these many years, and it's terrible. So I encourage that change as well. Thank you. I will be praying for that, as I always do. So besides everything that you've mentioned? I know you always have something. Like I don't know you, but I could tell that there's other things and other ideas. what else is next for Jen? What do you see happening, or what would you like to happen?
So funny that you would ask that, because actually we have just we're making some major changes here at Hardy House Media, and so some things are, yeah, well, there's going to be a lot of changes at the end of the year, but I have been speaking since I was 22 years old, so 3 decades of speaking, and we've just coined the name of my message, and power frame messaging. So I am going to start speaking on that. So helping people find their message, be able to deliver their message, and power frame, because it can either be for executives or people that want to get on video, like in a frame, and helping people find their voice. So I'm very excited. That book is coming out in April, actually. And so that's the new thing, is that I'm going to start traveling all over, and internationally, actually, and speaking on that. So, because I really want to help everyone find their voice. I think it's so important.
Wow, I love that. And you said you've been speaking since you were 22, and I'm guessing this is why podcasting was such a natural transition for you. You found your voice there. You're continuing to develop, the what you're speaking about, and that's changing. And now you're going to help others, and I love that. That's amazing.
That's my goal. Yeah, I've been helping women or business owners locally, to just get on stage, get in front of camera, learn how to do that, and feel comfortable. And now we're just going to take that message and run with it. So I'm
Yeah.
very excited.
As content creators, as a creator, I'm learning the importance of having the right message,
Yeah.
right? Because we want to attract the right audience as well, right? And hone in
Yeah.
on that message. Yeah. Oh, I love that. I'm so excited. I can't wait to see you. I hope you do come to New York or wherever you go. Maybe I'll go to London and, and see you
There
if
we
you
go.
go
Yeah.
there. I'll be
Podcast
your
show. It's happening in May.
I'll be your assistant. Um, and yeah, is there anything else that you would like to share with everyone besides that great news? That was amazing news.
Oh, thank you. No, I think no matter where you are, no matter what's going on around you, even if you are stuck in bed, because I was stuck in bed for a long time, there are things you can do. You can start by making the bed around you and making it look nice. Like, I mean, if that's where you're at, right? Or if you can get up, you can go take a walk. You can do something nice for someone. We all have the power to do things. And I think people forget that every day is a gift, and treat every day like a gift, and get up and do something, because you're going to feel really good about it.
Mm. I love that message. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for
You're
being
welcome.
here and for sharing your space and your energy. And I've been wanting you to be on this podcast since I first saw you at a virtual thing for PodFam. And I was like, oh, I want her on my show someday. And here you are. So I'm,
Mary, oh, that is so sweet. That is so sweet. Thank
yeah,
you.
so happy. And I can't wait to meet you, and who knows, maybe collaborate with you one day. I'm always putting that energy or
Absolutely.
that
Let's
vibe
do
out
it.
there. Let's do it.
I'm
Yes.
I'm up. Let's have it when we're having a party at Podfest next year. It's done.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Jen.
Thank you. I appreciate it.